Jeez, it's been 2 weeks since I've uploaded. I was getting a lot of comments asking if I forgot the password to the channel. Shockingly, no, I just was super busy, and then alongside that, I took a little break. The shock from some of you that I was in the True Underdog video the other day, yeah, go check it out if you haven't already. I had a lot of fun doing that video, but I also hadn't really thought about the tier list yet, and a lot of my opinions there I still really believe, but also reading through some of the comments and then talking to people afterwards have changed my mind on a couple things. Also, the channel's back in full swing, so get subscribed and expect a lot of gameplay videos this week, including Road to Rank 1. So I'm actually gonna have 5 tiers in this tier list. It's gonna be Destroys, Great, Average, Struggle, and yeah, shit. Hey, no tier list will ever be perfect, so just let me know in the comments what you disagree with. The big thing about fighting games is, yes, you can make a tier list, but at the end of the day, it's the matchups themselves that matter a lot more. Kenchi's a great example. He's clearly one of the best characters in the game, but there are some characters like Liu Kang that can kind of just hold him out the whole match. Speaking of Kenshi, he goes into the Destroys category. He has 2 main ways he's played at the moment. There's obviously other things you can do, but you're basically deciding against 2 different playstyles as the Kenshi player. You have the day 1 route, which is just choose Sub-Zero cameo for when you land a hit, you can freeze in the combo and then call out Sento and then finish it up into the sandwich. The benefit of choosing Sub is also once you're at range, Kenshi's big weakness is projectiles and people zoning him and trying to keep him away. So you can put on the Sub-Zero armor and have the projectiles not do anything to you. The other cameo I see being played with Kenshi is Cyrax. This is because Cyrax can be called out on block and use the horizontal version that costs the entire cameo gauge. So it's a block string into the horizontal Cyrax, and while that is happening, Kenshi can call out Sento the ghost and jump over the opponent and create the sandwich on block. So there's clearly a give and take there. You could take the Sub-Zero route where you have to land a hit, which is a little bit harder, but you get some projectile protection, and it only costs half your cameo gauge to do it. Whereas Kenshi Cyrax, you don't even have to land the hit, you could just do it on a block string, but it also will cost you your entire cameo gauge, and you don't really have any projectile protection. I'll stand by it, Kenshi's in a really tough spot in this game. His animations are cool, his moves look cool, I think puppet characters are a creative idea, but he's quite possibly the worst designed character in the game because in most matches, both players aren't having fun. This is because either one player is just face taking all of the Kenshi stuff, so you're not backing up at all, you're just running into him, and you're ending up crushed by Ghost and in infinite block strings, it feels like. Or the opponent knows what to do and just backs up and runs away the whole match, and in that case, the person running away isn't having any fun, even if they win, and the Kenshi isn't having any fun just trying to chase you down the whole game. It becomes really boring, a lot of timeouts happen. I don't know what you would do. I think you have to make him weaker in some ways that just turn into some BS, like the block strings, but then also still keep him top tier, so buff him up in other ways. I just think he needs a power shift, like rebalance the power somewhere else, because currently he's in a weird, kind of boring state in most matches. Let's continue to get the obvious out of the way. Where is Sindel? There she is. My beautiful queen, Sindel. How I don't love playing against her. Oh my. Sindel is very good, and on one hand, she's great for the game because she brings some MKX factor to the game. She's really the only true Vortex character that there is. The only issue is she doesn't have the same weaknesses Vortex characters and things like MKX had. Like, to me, even Scorpion and Cyber Smoke, so Triborg Smoke and MKX, had some weaknesses, although Smoke was so good. Smoke was a top 5 character at the end point of MKX. Sindel is still getting big damage, but I think a really major one is that her mix-ups work. It's not just the Vortex, it's that as long as she gets Lao Hat down, you are breaking the game mechanically. If you didn't know, in MK1 there is mix-up protection, so if a low then an overhead happens within 5 frames of each other, normally, if you block the first one, it auto-blocks the second one. But in this game, for some reason, Sindel Float glitches that, meaning she's the only one with a true 1-frame mix-up, and you never know if it's going to be low first, overhead first, so not only is it hard to block in 1 frame, get down and up, but you don't even know which to do first. And the cherry on top is that normal range. Her mid is pretty good, and she just gets a lot of normal range. With the hit stun and the block stun on it, she kind of just auto spaces herself unless you have really long range normals. I mean, I'd be remiss to not bring up that just recently Waz was in grand finals playing as Ashra going against a Sindel, where he essentially just got flawless in grand finals because the Sindel was using Cyrax, and yeah, the Vortex is just insane. She has infinite tech. If you don't want to go for just a basic Lao tech, you could go for the Cyrax tech. It's really fun to watch. It's just absurdly hard to fight against. Next up, I still think we put Johnny Cage up here in Destroys. He's definitely normalized. I'll say this. I don't think Johnny Cage is as bad as Sindel or Kenshi, but he is very similar to Sindel in the fact that Sindel is this like OD'd Vortex character. Johnny Cage takes the rushdown archetype and essentially doesn't have to have any of the weaknesses of it until you change the fact that Shadow Kick starts up with 8 frames and can be kept safe with cameos. He's always going to be strong, especially with the fastest mid in the game, and the second fastest mid in the game. He has a 9 frame, safe, hit confirmable mid, and then a 10 frame one. Then he's got mix-up, star power, anything like that. But the thing that creates all those problems is that there's not really a time period where he's playing the weakness of a rushdown. In all other games and all other characters in the rushdown archetype, the area where you do the most damage to the rushdown player is when they are trying to get in. He's not overwhelming though. I don't think he needs any nerfs or anything like that. He's fine where he's at. He just still is good. There's no downplaying how strong this character is, and I think that's fine for the time being. Actually, one small nerf. Can we please give his jump 3 a hurt box? Everybody's been saying it. It's been glitched since day one. You literally can't anti-air this man when he goes for a jump kick unless you get extremely lucky. Next, we have Ashra. Ashra is kind of this one character that is so close to being broke, like nerf broke, but at the same time has a couple of things that stop that from happening. She's one of the most picked characters in online tournaments. Her biggest strength is she is a complete character out the box without a cameo. Obviously cameos help. You see a lot of Serena, and that's because you want extra damage that she only has to hit you 3 times in a round instead of 4. It's definitely a big difference when you have overhead and low mix. But you could also take Scorpion or Chameleon cameo for different perks. Chameleon cameo gets insane on the mix-ups. You have to think about it. Ashra has a starting overhead, a starting low, both of those start combos. But then she has a second hit overhead on one of the strings, the mid string, and a second hit low on her high attack. Well, those second hits can now be mixed up with cameos as well. So you could take Chameleon for that. You also get a projectile that goes full screen, and so you can stay in the light stance more often, even though dark stance cancel is probably one of the best special moves in the game. It's nuts if you know what you're doing with it. But then you could also take Scorpion for throw combos and high damage as well. She's just a really complete character. It's going to be hard for her to fall out of the top tier area because when you have a +5 move, even if we have figured out ways at this point to kind of get around it, as well as a almost unreactable overhead close range when you're so worried about the lows, especially in intense scenarios, it's going to be hard for her to fall anywhere but the top, at least for right now. I wonder if you guys are starting to see a pattern here. A lot of the characters that can do something nobody else can are in the destroys category. They play differently from anybody else, so it's almost hard in the matchup sometimes. Reiko is solid. Reiko is the most boringly good character ever. Top 2 poke in the game, top 2 or 3 projectile in the game, the only player with a mid command grab, so when you are up close to Reiko, you are guessing between jumping, ducking, blocking. It gets absurd, and even then he's going to outspace you when he gets to range. His normal range is incredible because it's not his actual feet or fists that are doing the hits, it's like the aura that comes off of them. So he's incredible range, way more than you'd expect. He does good damage, he can punish things full screen because he has a slide, he can run in and cancel it, even though I don't think the run is that great. He just has a lot going for him, and I think he's one of the hardest characters to get back the life lead once you've lost it. So he can kind of get 10 to 15% health advantage and really make you work to try and get back into it if he plays smart. He can essentially try and time you out and grind you down over and over again. That's why you see so many people succeeding with Reiko in tournament, because you're not as worried about rushing in like you are on ranked. You can play it slow, nobody's gonna judge you, and people do all the time. Okay, can I get a hot take here? This one's gonna be a hot take, I'm sure of it, but I think Ermac at the moment is getting the Peacemaker treatment. I think he destroys, and I'm so happy I didn't make a tier list or an opinion video on Ermac day one because so many people were telling me this character gets no damage, whatever. No, this dude is rocking 50% combos at ease. he gets an armor launching combo, and it's one of the highest damage armor launch combos in the entire game. He gets insane pressure. He gets an auto shimmy because the grab looks like the mid and you can never really tell what's coming. You just kind of duck and you're like, what the heck? Did he just do like a fist bump to himself? Like, it looks so weird when you duck the throw animation. His move where he puts on the shield over him is busted. It's kind of like Peacemaker. I'm sure it'll get toned down, but it does not cost near as much meter for how long it lasts. Like, the end games get absolutely wild and there's no way to like counterplay it. I don't know. I feel like something has to be changed. It could get balanced if you didn't want to change it, that your combo doesn't actually scale while he's not taking the damage, because it's really a shame that if you've hit Ermac and you're going through the combo and he ends up running out of the damage reduction thing or the damage negation thing, the damage you get from that point on is still scaled as if the other things have been hitting or doing damage during the combo. I think NetherRealm could make it more fair by, as soon as it runs out, even if you're in the middle of a combo, like on hit 7 or 8, it's starting the damage as if that was hit 1. That way you get more if Ermac didn't correctly time it or went for a really stupid risk. And yeah, you lost out on some of the damage in the beginning, but you don't end up only getting like 9%, because yeah, the damage scaling by the time it wore off. That would just be dumb. But yeah, great character, tons of stuff. He has a great neutral check, good pressure. You never really know what to do, and I like him a lot. He's fast-paced, definitely. So these two right here, I'm having a tough time with. Rain and Tanya. You see, on Xbox at least, Tanya destroys. Out of the top 10 in the ranked leaderboards, I think 3 of those players are Tanya mains. Her forward 2 is oppressive. She has some of the best normal range in the game. She can essentially punish any projectile full screen and get in on you. She has an armored launching combo. She does a lot. She can essentially armor on you all the time because she builds meters so quickly with how many hits her attacks do. She feels very much like MKX Melina in that sense, that she just rapidly keeps regenerating meter because you're always blocking like 5 hit strings. It's crazy. So I think I gotta put her in Destroys solely for the Xbox boys and girls because yeah, she crushes. She absolutely crushes. I'm sure she crushes as well on PlayStation, but I would be remiss to not put her in Destroys. You know, oh my, this character gives me nightmares, especially when she gets things going and she's teleporting up above me, and then her parry can be pretty strong as well. But truthfully, what makes her great is the practical normal range probably being the best in the entire game, mixed with that forward too. Raid, I'm gonna keep at the top of great. I think he's good. But you know what would make him top 5? If we made that new mid-launcher of his a low like it looks like. I think that is all that's holding him back. I don't want that to happen, by the way. That would be brutal. Not fun to play against, but that would make him top 5. I feel like there's been cheaper things in the game before. I maybe next tier list I'll give him Destroys, but I really need to see it. Do I just throw him in Destroys? I think he's good. The new cancel is amazing. He actually gets good damage now. And he has more than just one cool route to get brutal combos. Not that that matters for a tier list, but it is cool. He's just dangerous, but at the same time, not as dangerous as I thought he was going to be when I thought it was a low. I'm going to leave him at the very top of great for right now. I think it's worth it for everyone to learn Rain right now. He's a blast to play. I'm not even joking you. Watch the ketchup and mustard video to learn. All right, we have our most standard good character in the game, which is Liu Kang. Liu Kang is the dream strike throw character, and he fits that game style perfectly. And you know what's great about it? It's not like Johnny being a rushdown character, where I think he also trumps what should be his weakness as a rushdown character. Liu Kang isn't overly cheap. He's just the best at strike throw. 2 incredible mids, the fastest jab in the game at 6 frames on his stand 1, and then throw combos on multiple different cameos to choose from, and then tons of damage when he gets his hit, and projectile to cover himself when he's far away. He's the perfect strike throw because his weakness is not having mix-ups. But it doesn't matter if you don't have mix-ups, because you are strike throwing perfectly. You will be getting hit going against a good Liu Kang because that Liu Kang should be throwing you enough to make you let go of block when you probably shouldn't be. And with that fast jab as well, you're not necessarily mashing on him as easy as other characters. Next we have Katana. Katana's just a really straightforward character as well. I feel like a lot of these like beta stress test characters are pretty plain, but also fit an archetype. Maybe not as good of base projectiles as Liu Kang, but converts on higher damage at ranged projectiles, and just converts to higher damage at range in general. On top of that though, crazy corner trap setup where she gets the grab, and you kind of have to spend bar and do crazy things to get out of that. With Jax, she's getting incredible damage, and she's just another one that you don't quite know when you should press against her, and her buttons and normals are pretty good, and then she's got a great poke to go along with it. Next, I want to throw Omni-Man in great. Omni-Man is the weirdest character ever. Either the Omni-Man player plays like MK11 Shiva, just constantly using special moves full screen, but then relying on either Kano knives coming in or using Jax ground pounds and just trying to bait you into jumps or getting hit by it. And it gets really wild and wacky, but there's also the Omni-Man players that play it really calculated and want to bait you into doing moves where they then pop the slips and get full combos. You can really do whatever you want with this character. He has some of the best meterless damage in the game. I think he has pretty decent armor. All he's really lacking is a projectile and stuff like that, but then again, his teleport is so good. His teleport is probably the best teleport in the game in terms of you're just safe while doing it most of the time, and it just feels comfortable to close the space. And honestly, it becomes a mind game because you can instantly meter burn the invincibility and they get your full combos. So yeah, he's going to be all over the screen. You're going to have the Shiva MK11 players using him, but then you're also going to have some true sweats grinding this character. I'm going to throw Peacemaker in great, but I actually don't think Peacemaker on his own is all that good after the nerfs. I think they really did change what made him absolutely infuriating to go against, but I still think he is one of the best counter picks in the entire game. I know you can't technically counter pick in Kombat League, but if you're worried about matchups, I think if you choose Peacemaker, you have the least bad matchups. Other than that, he plays like a pretty standard character, but he's good now. He's great, you know, like he doesn't do anything special. I think they toned him down just right, and I think you'll see him a lot at the pro level because again, he's a solid counter pick. To close out our great, I'm going to be putting Raiden. Raiden just got normalized. He still can do a lot of the same stuff he was doing before. He just doesn't get to use 0 resources to do it and get insane chip. It's just like now he just calls Kano to keep it safe in what he was already doing before with the electric sphere. He's pretty standard, but he still seems like he should be punished on more things. But I'm perfectly okay with where he's at. He's in a great spot. I like what NetherRealm did with him. They did not gut him whatsoever. He just now plays the game like everybody else. If you were Raiden only this entire time, you might think he sucks now, but honestly, he just plays like all the other good characters have to do with their cameos to do the absurd stuff. Like, I think he's just fine. You could still do the MK11 Shiva strat where you either choose Jax or Kano, even though Kano would be good either way, but you just start diving across the screen, getting setups, throwing the knives from outside of the stage. You know, you can't see Kano throwing them, but he is. You could do all that cheesy strats as well, or you could play fundamental and use Kano to keep yourself safe, and it's pretty good. He does damage, he does everything. Next, I have Quan Chi in average. I think Quan Chi stands one of the highest chances to jump up the tier list. The reason I put him at average is because he has slow down 1 and slow jab, but at the same time, I think he could be a character that steals games. If you don't know how to go against this character yet, he will destroy you. In a tournament setting where you might only play the player one time until like grand finals or whatever, Quan Chi can wreck. He can get set up where essentially he just doesn't get touched for a whole round because he gets the armor on him and he puts you into dirty situations. NetherRealm did a great job with buffing Quan Chi. The issue is again, if you knew the matchup perfectly, you would just kind of avoid the tough spots with the armor and the trap around you and then take advantage of the fact that he's a slow poke and a slow jab. I think he could be put in great, and arguably he should be, but until we see some tournament results, I'm going to keep him in average. But just know, if you want to learn Quan, you will destroy way more people than you think in Kombat League because nobody knows how to go against him. He fights like no other character on the roster. Next, we're putting Reptile. I think Reptile got a shorter end of the stick than Rain, clearly. I think his moves are good. The projectile is better, and then his teleport cancel kind of move is nice. It's very gimmicky. It works. It definitely works. It's just not game changing. It's not bringing him from average to struggle tier like he was before and putting him up top. I think Reptile still fills a niche, which is he's a perfect starter beginner character that isn't super weak because he does everything. He can go invisible, he has projectiles, he's got good combos, he can auto whiff punish for you. He has the best auto whiff punish in the game. And it's not like Tanya where you have to backdash too much to get these. It's no, the string for Reptile literally does a lot of the work for you in making people throw out a down one when they shouldn't, and you get to punish. So that's great. He's got light mix-up, which is nice. He's really the jack of all trades, so average is perfect for him, and I think the buff just gave him a little more style points and creativity for those that really want to grind this character into being, you know, a top 100 ranked player with Reptile. Ooh, I actually got to move this guy, Smoke, up to the top of average. I was getting close to putting Smoke in great. I think the only reason I'm not is Smoke is so online dependent. Online in 70 ping plus, this character goes up to top of great, like somewhere up here. But because offline should be taken into account, I'm going to say average because the cancel is fake if you are on great ping. And then on top of that, he's unsafe on a lot of things and doesn't have a great mid. Things like his plus frames forward 4, while giving him great damage and combos, can be ducked if he mistimes the meaty and you get full punishes. Characters like Omni-Man stop Smoke from hitting buttons. Something about the interaction, just Omni-Man could do whatever he wants. Omni-Man could hit almost all of his buttons and get a full combo off Smoke doing half of his buttons. It's crazy what Omni-Man picks up off of Smoke, but I think online he is incredible. He's the perfect YOLO character. I feel like NRS finally did it right creating this kind of like wild throw buttons out there character, because they also made him have some intricate play and gave him invisibility, which was super nuts, gave him high damage. They just made it fun. Yes, you have a little bit of the Kung Lao MK11, Scorpion MK11, or MKX Melina YOLO to him, but it's balanced, and I think he's perfect in that way, and then he gets to excel online like all the YOLO characters do. Next up is Li Mei, and Li Mei is an interesting one. If you keep up with the pro scene at all, Rewind is actually heavily debating switching off Reiko to Li Mei. The only issue for him that Li Mei has is the T-Rex arms, which definitely is true, but a lot of us would also say the issue is the gaps all over the place. I think she's average though. The Li Mei dilemma is if you give her any substantial buffs, she becomes one of the best characters in the game, and she would be ending rounds like Season 0 quickly, because again, she is the highest practical damage in the entire game. She's dropping 45 to 50% at will, and on top of that, she gets plus frames if the opponent doesn't know what they're doing. She gets a projectile as a part of her base kit. She can stop a lot of the characters that need to jump often, like Sub-Zero or Lao, with her lantern. She can combo off of her armor with Scorpion Cameo. She's got some mix-up to her, and I think maybe she could get a buff in the way I would buff her. I got this from True Underdog when we recorded together, but it was such a great idea. That one string that either ends in the overhead knockdown or launches, at the moment, you can just block the launching version, the first and second hit, and get a full combo punish on her. Why isn't that second hit just like Scorpions or Liu Kang's or Reptile's launching strings, where the second hit isn't punishable on block, but you can duck the second hit for a full punish? It seems like it should work the exact same way, but it doesn't. So an easy buff would just be make that hit safe, but make it so you have to duck the second hit to get the punish. It would add some cool cameo mind games as well. It would make the overhead a tiny bit more viable, and I actually think that is a perfect starter buff for her. It's not much at first, but we could really test it out and see how it goes. Next, I have Baraka. Baraka always changes around in my mind, but he's not too bad. I think with Kano Cameo, he is solid. He'll always be considered top tier to lower like tier players or more casual players, because yeah, even us high level play all the time players are getting hit by that mid consistently. Yeah, he's not Season 0 good or anything like that, and he could probably get his damage rebuffed a little bit. They definitely gutted him because again, he was running rampant at the lower ranks to the point people probably stopped playing the game. But he's just average though. He's got a light overhead low mix, he's got a great mid, but then some of his weaknesses, the damage is a little lower than it used to be. He doesn't have any safe special moves, so he really relies on the ambush cameo meta, which he has relied on since day one. But it's like, then there's still good things. He gets a built-in projectile onto his kit. His stand 4, the double chop one, breaks armor on most characters, so you cover wake-ups. And you can get throw combos and then have 3 different moves that have plus frames on them. So definitely average. Just bring back a little bit of his damage, NRS. Scale it a little bit lighter. Next, I'm going to be putting Shang in average, but I'm going to be honest with you, he probably could be moved down to struggle. The issue I have with it is it's like the very first tier list I made back in September, October. Nobody plays Shang, and on paper, you would think Shang would be really good. It's just, he's one, boring. He can only launch off one thing, which is the ground sparks, and he should honestly get the damage boost just when he morphs in general. It shouldn't just be when he spends the bar, because on paper, you would think more people should be playing him now than at the beginning, but that's not what happened. I say that because now we've had a lot more time for the Shang mains to have learned the rest of the cast members, so you would think the Shang mains would start using him more in Kombat League, but it's like the opposite is happening. He really might be the #1 character where it's like, just make him more fun and more people might play him. He might not even be that terrible on paper. He definitely needs something. He could use some light buffs just to make him more fun and to see where that takes him. Because right now, I just never see Shang. And when I do, it's kind of the same thing every time. Next, in the struggle category, we have Geras. I don't think he's like terrible, but the Lao nerfs, the Kung Lao cameo nerfs, definitely hurt this man because forward 4 was an option select. Like, Lao would either keep that string safe and it was one of his better strings, or if it hit, the opponent would get launched and Lao would still convert into the rest of the combo. That isn't really around anymore. Being able to see the hourglass is a nerf for Geras. It makes it easier to know what's going on. And really and truly, it's just Geras has to risk a lot. And if he's not risking a lot, he's spending a lot of meter. Like, you'll see some Gerases use Serena, and when Serena's going, because Geras actually can start doing things like towards the 3rd or 4th Serena glaive, he'll end up popping the hourglass using meter. Well, that just costed him a Serena set, so half his cameo gauge, as well as a bar of meter, just to get something that the next time he gets hit, he can break out of it and reverse the time. But then characters like Scorpion can get in and punish him because of the recovery on that move. He's not the greatest right now. He's got a decent overhead, which is nice, but it's really just a mind game. Is he gonna go for the ghost grab in that string, or is he gonna, finish out the string? And both are punishable. If you duck the ghost, full punish. If you flawless block the final hit of that string where he's trying to put you into the wall or whatever, that is a full combo punish. So Geras is in a tough spot right now. I could see him dropping a little lower. I just think on paper there's other things, but he definitely needs a quicker mid to start, and then we'll evaluate from there. Natara. You know what's funny? Natara would have been here in average if Chameleon didn't keep taking damage nerfs. And I know people don't like Chameleon. Well, people don't like Chameleon that don't play Chameleon. I don't think she's as bad as either Cyrax, Striker, or Lao, because at least Chameleon gives creativity, fun, and a lot of cool setups, whereas literally Striker was just do special move and do it on block. Like, that was so boring. At least Chameleon is entertaining, but I get that the Melina ball roll, people don't like having to watch the cameo gauge. Well, that's what I say for when I'm playing Scorpion. I would understand if you had mix-ups that helped, but somebody like Scorpion doesn't. So if you see Chameleon Melina on my screen, just block overhead. There's nothing I can do. And if you see Katana, just block low, because ground flames is the only thing I can do. But regardless, I think with Chameleon getting these damage nerfs, we have Natara back to struggle. With how low of health she has, with the slower buttons, so it makes it hard for her to open you up, she just is always a risky pick. Like, I'm sure everyone's lost to at least one Natara super badly, where it makes her seem incredible. But if you go play her, and I just recently learned her, she isn't that great, and she really relies on having great damage and the best movement in the game. There's no denying that, and Chameleon really synergizes well with her. It's just, yeah, she got more damage beforehand. If Chameleon was the same, she'd be up in average, but at the moment, I have her in struggle. Melina and Lao are pretty similar to me. I know a lot of people think I downplay Melina, but I really think at the lower ranks, yeah, she's good. Like, if you told me I play like a few hours a week, I think Melina is OP, I'd agree with you. The issue is, at the highest of levels, you just don't see very many Melinas anymore because her mix-up is on the second hit, and it's not even a mix-up. Like, it can be blocked every day of the week, and then you can't even really use somebody like Scorpion Cameo with her because she doesn't have any projectile that doesn't cost a bar a meter. So I think all she really needs is either a better mid or her low projectile should go full screen meterlessly, because right now you can really just outzone her, back up from her, and she has no normals to hit you. What is she gonna do? YOLO ball roll? YOLO teleport? Burn through all her meter to try and throw projectiles at you? Just space out Melina and you win. And then wait for her to get desperate and use an unsafe move. Because on top of that, her mid, you have to dial in the forward 1 444 or just one hit confirm forward 1 into something. That's ridiculous. It's hard to do. So her big strength is getting a ton of damage, which is good, and then having plus frames on her forward 2, and I guess having the auto second hit is either overhead or low. But once you get to the higher ranks, that doesn't work well for you. So she either needs a safe special move, she needs a full screen meterless projectile, making her low 1 meterless, or she just needs a slightly better mid, because right now you can go full matches without seeing Melina's mid used a single time. Kung Lao, very similar. Have to one hit confirm the mid. Honestly, the mid is trash. I mean, you definitely get hit by it in the corner, but you get hit by the second hit where it's either the overhead or the low. It's not doing much damage at all. And kinda, it's like Melina. At the lower ranks, I can see it, but once you realize what the Melina or Kung Lao player has to do, it becomes easy. With Kung Lao, just resist the urge to hit buttons against him. He will burn through all his resource because his whole game plan is dive kick short, hope you hit a button because you think you can punish, armor through that button, then Goro launch full combo. Or he's going to just wake up, armor you, Goro launch. He wants those Goro plus frames with armored launches. That is 90% of his game plan, 95. So just make him burn through all the meter for armor and make him burn through the Goro meter. And all of a sudden, he can't do anything to you that hits for... He's hitting for 10% max, and you beat this character. I don't know what he needs. I know Sonic Fox agrees on both the Melina and Kung Lao opinions. I don't know what exactly for Kung Lao you would give. Melina, it seems pretty obvious, but yeah, it's tough. Xiao's in the struggle area, but he's not as bad because he literally just out-healths a lot of these characters. I mean, you could have a Natara matchup where, Natara gets 850 health and Xiao has 1250. That's absurd. That's kind of hilariously funny. It's like the game's already over. He just needs a better mid. I think Xiao with a better mid is great, but I think he has his good matchups because of the pushback and things like that. Obviously, he's not a super great character, and I don't even really agree with the health being the way you balance things, but he just needs a mid. Everybody's been saying it since day one. Give Xiao a better mid, and I'll go ahead and agree with that, but you would have to tone down the health if you gave him a good mid, because then it would be over. He would just never lose. Havoc down here. Havoc is on the struggle bus. Even worse, his gameplay is really boring. He has a good poke. He has a 4-hit armor, move, all that. But it's like everything you do is Havoc, you are the one taking the risk. You're like, oh my. The opponent's not even scared. When I go against a Havoc, I know the Havoc is scared. Because if the Havoc makes the wrong choice, full combo punish, and it's anything that's safe for Havoc, his reward is 15% for it. So he has to play really boring. You can get good projectile setups, and he's a really good counter zoner because he just throws on Sub-Zero and he gets a little bit of extra health, but he just needs some help. Getting the buff where people can't interrupt that gap with cameos isn't even worth it anymore because nobody plays Striker. So help Havoc out, a light buff would be nice. Scorpion and Sub, I think, are just struggle. I could go on all day that I think Scorpion's mid isn't addressing the problem and that he should just either have the mid slightly sped up because the same range as Johnny's, or more reasonably just make Amplified Spear connect after the new mid, because that'd be spending a whole bar to do it. It's just nothing connects with it. It doesn't synchronize with Chameleon hardly at all. You just get the Melina size, but NetherRealm could have made us happy with just Katana Fan and Melina size connecting for that combo, or have Amplified Spear connect, but then leave it the rest of it the way it is. It's just, it was so close. It was so close, NetherRealm. So I'll just put struggle. I don't know what else to say. He's never gonna get great status probably. And then Sub-Zero, I think with Chameleon, is a really solid character in a good spot in terms of struggle characters. I think if he's gonna get a buff at all, he already has pretty much every tool. He just could get a little more damage, but you're already seeing a rise in these opinions that people don't think Sub-Zero needs a buff. I don't think he needs any more gameplay buffs. I think just a slight upcrease in damage, because he already has a lot of things, you know? He gets a clone, he gets overhead low, he gets a great mid, he can convert into Melina size, he can convert on a lot of things with Chameleon. Chameleon made this character, essentially whatever Sub-Zero does, he can get a full combo off of it. And Tweety was talking about that today, and I didn't want to make a comment on it because I'm a Scorpion main. I, of course, want buffs too. But yeah, you can see Tweety's already thinking it. This got a lot of traction and a lot of likes, so we'll see what happens. Let me know what you think about Sub, because I'm not giving my take on it. I don't know. I said give him a little more damage. This is what I want to leave the tier list at, but if I had to throw down some people out of struggle, being like, these are characters I think need buffs, I think I would do that. This, in just the way, you know, the projectile, I think, make the low one meterless. Lao, just give him something else, and then I think I would throw down these two as well. So this isn't really what I think about their power, but these are the people I think that definitely need buffs. And then I think somebody like Shang Tsung doesn't necessarily need a buff, he just needs something different or new. So it might not make him any better than he is, but it makes him more creative, have a different play style that makes him more played. Hey, subscribe if you're new. I'll catch you guys next time in tomorrow's video. Peace.